Well, it's been good. I've had a lot of long conversations with people that are important to me that usually would be 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and then they would say, "I know you got to go," and but I got to really visit with them. So some former players, my high school coach, just different people from your life that they know you're not. Coaching kind of breeds that. You got to go, 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 do whatever because your brain never shuts off. So it's been really good. My dogs are very happy with it. They've had 2 walks a day instead of one, so it's a healthy thing for them too. Entering the year, I knew that first of all I wanted to win more games for us to keep going. We'd had those 3 starters tear their ACLs, and we had a horrible win-loss record last year. And I had talked with Doug and just said, realistically, I know that I should win this many games to keep going. And we started out okay, but then we didn't really get those wins, and we didn't really have the best recruiting year. In the fall, I think it was hard for us to sign kids because people knew that I didn't really have a contract. So the way it ended up, it was very obvious to me that it was time for me to step aside and let someone else do what I had gotten to do for 40 years. And in the meantime, things had happened like the Mountain West Conference. I was actually talking to someone, Doug has called about the job. She called me today, and she was talking to me about the Mountain West travel, like, man, it kills you, doesn't it? And I was like, yes, it does. So there were things like that that I'm just tired of doing, and so it was a good break for me to just know. So I went in to see Doug probably a month before the season was over, and started going down that road. Yeah, there was actually at Utah State when lost. We lost a one possession game, and we just probably between that moment and then UNLV kind of beating us pretty bad. One really bad loss and one really close one. I think losing wears on everybody, but I think that was kind of when I knew that I was gonna keep fighting with them, and hopefully things were gonna turn around. But we had a young team. A lot of times we started 3 sophomores, a junior, and a senior. But this is my 9th year of coaching, so that's on me. We shouldn't be starting that young of kids. So that's really my responsibility, and we didn't really load it up like we should have. Well, it was definitely, there were a lot of tears in the locker room. I mean, I love these kids, and I think most of them love me. I'm not going to say all of them do. But I think that at the same time, realistically, we all knew. Like, I had made a promise to Doug, and I'm going to keep my promise. And it was time for me anyway. And I think as soon as I communicated to them that I want to do this. Like, I'm ready to do this. Like, 40 years is like 2 of your lifetimes already that I've been traveling and traveling, and I have no life in July. And, I'm ready to go to North Carolina and my family be there longer than a day at Christmas, and fly back on Christmas Day. I'm ready. I need more, and I'm young enough that I can enjoy some of that stuff. And I think they really understood and believed me. And then I promised them that I'm going to be at their games next year. I don't want to coach anywhere else. Hopefully I'm going to be a professor here at Nevada, but I'm going to be in the stands. But I will never talk basketball with you again. Like, we're done with that aspect. Like, life, maybe whatever, but no basketball, and that's been good. I just think Nevada's always seemed like home to me. That quirky little home means Nevada. I mean, I don't know if it's that I can be outside every day. I don't know if it's the people are easy and good. I have a really great church here, but it feels like home to me. And I am definitely not short on people coming to visit me. They come all the time. I have a little cabin up at Tahoe, so I think I could never move my cabin. Everybody that's ever met me wants to come stay at my cabin. So I just love Nevada. It's my favorite place. I would say that when I would be working, and when we were having our good teams and getting to the NIT and stuff, I would say this is my favorite job. I don't think anybody ever really believed me, but it really was. Even in the hard times, it was. I love the university, a tier one university. It's a great one. I never felt like we were trying to sell used cars. Like, it's a degree from here is really, really great. So I live 5 minutes from the university. It's just, there's nothing about, I just love it. I've had some talks about a possibility of me being a professor here with the president and with some other academic people. And that would be kind of like phase two of another life that I would love to live because it would keep me in a teaching mode. Like, can you imagine if now I got to teach a coaching class and now I got to take all my John Wooden stuff or all my Kay Yao stuff and then pour into people that really want to coach because I do have a kind of a skill set that is unique, I think, in the profession. And, I do know I've had a lot of experiences with parents. I was a high school coach for 4 years, so, there's a lot of different things that, and I'm hopeful it's going to work out. And if it doesn't, I'm sure something will because I'm not like done working. I know that. I'm not going to walk my dog 6 hours a day. It's going to be a very meaningful retirement. I think the culture we built here, when I got here, I think when we beat Louisville and they were ranked like maybe seventh in the country, there were 100 people at the game at the most. And I think we built a women's basketball community. And I think that they care about our kids and about the program. And I've seen some of them, and they've almost apologized to me and said, I'm going to keep my season tickets. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm going to have season tickets. Like, I don't want that. I want this to be better. So I'm really proud of the players that they've graduated, that all the players that have been here for the 4 years or 5 years have graduated, and that they're out in the world with great jobs or in PT school or in dental school or somewhere doing something. So I think that the time we had here was much more about developing the educational part of their lives than it was other things. For instance, the day after we lost in our conference tournament, I stayed in Vegas that day and watched one of those people, Allison Fasnot, who is an assistant at St. Mary's. They were in the championship game with Gonzaga, and Gonzaga has a young coach, and a couple years ago she asked me to mentor her. So I got to go be a support person like that, and I'll be able to be that. Go to a game and just support people. I think as a coach in this profession, I've really received a lot, and people have supported me and my busy schedule and kind of done things for me, and now I'll be able to do the same for those players that I've coached. For the assistants that are head coaches now, I'll get to go because it's during season. They had this big alumni thing at Northern Illinois, and almost all of my NCAA players were there. They had this big soup, and they FaceTime me. They called me like several times, and I'm like, I should be there, but I can't. But next year I can, so I can be there to celebrate with them. Just that I was able to love the people here and help them get to another phase of their life. I'm kind of a process person. I'm not it has to be just to get to here. I'm like, what do you become as you go here? So I would like to be a person that's giving back, and whether that's the homeless shelter or the animal shelter or just teaching Sunday school, I don't know what that will be, but I'd like to really give instead of receive. And I feel like as a basketball coach, you just, people are so nice. They just try to help you and, what do you need? And I want to be like, what do you need? No, not at all. I think I was at, when I got to start coaching, it was right as Title IX was passed. But for instance, when I was in high school, there were no scholarships, and they were just starting to come, scholarships for women. But when I got to go to start in college, when I coached with Pat, there were actually two national tournaments that year. One was an AIAW, which you don't even heard of that, and one was the NCAA. And we made the Final Four. I was on Pat's staff when we got to do that. In the first year as a college coach, I'm like in the Final Four, and I'm like, I can remember sitting there at the game thinking, this is kind of cool. So just watching the growth of, but no one gets to be a head coach when they're 28 now. Back then it wasn't as hard. There were more women in it. It was a lot of different things, but to be able to go from 28 to age 62 and 61 actually, and put in 33 years as a head coach. Most of the people now are in their 40s when they're getting it, and I just was at the perfect time. You think about Bill Gates, like in his lifetime, that he was like right when the computers, he got to do all that. What if he was born 50 years ago or 50 years from now? Like, I just feel like that I got to watch the growth of women's basketball. And when I was in the Big Ten, we had a game that I coached that was the biggest crowd I think this still watched the Big Ten game. It was like 17,000. We sold the Kohl Center out, and so I've gotten to do that, and then I've gotten to coach in front of, my first year at Northern, 15 people. Now, what's so different about coaching is when a coach gets a job, there's immediate pressure to win, and it's a pressure that I didn't have. Like if I really did a bad job that first year at a game and we lost it, nobody tweeted about me, or nobody put it on Instagram or Snapchat and said, oh my God, this lady's terrible. So I got to kind of learn by my mistakes, and unfortunately the world doesn't give you that much time to do that now. Like, I think you could probably look this up, but my first 4 years at Northern, I think we might have had one winning season, but after that we were like in the NCAA tournament and won 20-some games. So most coaches now wouldn't be given that fifth year, and that really makes me sad because it is a process and it does take time for things to change. It's amazing, it's all amazing, and I think it's a very healthy growth. I think with it comes some hard things, that it's less education now, and it's all about, getting that win, and so you can't really educate as much as you used to could. Like if I suspended one of my players this year, it would have been front page headlines. You used to could suspend them, you could teach them, you could discipline them. But I was watching one of the NCAA games last night, and they kept showing it was an NIT game, I think, or it might have been the play. It doesn't matter. But they showed that clip of that guy choking his teammate, and they kept showing it over and over. And you know what I thought about my year? That maybe the team I had, I think they averaged 94 points a game. Two friends, they were like best buddies, just like them. And it was before our conference championship game in the semifinals. One of them got mad, and in the game, she turned around and threw the ball at the other one and hit her in the head and gave her a black eye. And the president of our university was there. I mean, this is like we're undefeated in the league, and all that. And I actually got to bench them the next night, and they came in and they did very, very well. But it wasn't national news. I got to educate them. They just had a bad moment. And I'm not saying he should have choked the guy. I don't know anything about it, but it brought that memory of you used to could teach lessons because the whole world wasn't watching, or they weren't going to, again, social media wasn't going to blow up. I mean, I think that part, we kind of got what we asked for with women's basketball like that, because it didn't used to be like that. The recruiting was probably getting to where, you get a mass text from a kid and you know that she sent it to 25 coaches and the same exact text to see who's going to text her back. I won't miss that kind of stuff. It's not as much authentic getting to know them as playing the game, so I won't miss that. In the month of July, I certainly won't miss the busyness of being away. The whole month of July is a hard thing, I think, on you. But I think that would be, 18 to 22-year-olds can be challenging. That's what I signed up for. But when I signed up for it, I was 28. And so now sometimes their decisions, I'm not real sure I get them. But that's what I signed up for, because they're supposed to be able to make them and learn from them. Like when I could get my players to tell me the truth, I know that I've really done my job. Like a kid that just doesn't tell me, and then all of a sudden we've taught them that really need to tell the truth. So there's a lot of things that's kind of the opposite. That's what I will miss. The kind that the time the kid shoplifts and you say, "Did you shoplift?" and she goes, "I did," and then okay, we've done all right. A highlight would probably be, um, when you get to go to the NCAA, it's just that game that puts you in that your conference championship. You cut down the nets and you're waiting to see, a group that's never been there. That's a fun thing. Here was actually fun to go to the NIT because we had never won a game here in the NIT. So have that 20-win season. That was a really fun thing for me to get to take people places they've never been. At Nevada, it's, certainly, I think always when you beat UNLV, it's fun. The Pink game was always fun for me because it was about KYAL and fighting and, really kind of being better than you really are. So I've got a lot of really great memories, although we didn't win a championship. I think my first or second year we were in the finals, and, a couple of times we came really close, but that was when we were in the WAC, not the Mountain West. So, but it all boils back down to watching the players grow as people, and even the student reporters or anybody that you're in contact with. I got emails when I retired from the beat writer, the student that is at Northern. That's a long time. That just seeing people grow is really, I think, what's best about sport. Just being involved in sports that. It's a fun thing, and women are always kind of the underdog. They're always kind of the ones that don't get the press or don't get the paper forgets that you just beat you did this. But then I would go to church sometimes this year, and they would say, "Congratulations, y'all won," and I'm like, actually we hadn't won in 2 weeks, but they have no clue because they really hadn't seen any news about it. So there's kind of the good and the bad. Oh, I think it's exciting. I love men's college basketball. And when I got here, Mark Fox, they were just coming off of that Sweet 16 run, and he had Jamal McGee, and I know Mark told me that they would be in the top 25 in the fall, and then Jamal left that summer. And, so I love basketball in general. I think it's the greatest sport. I love football too, but basketball is. That was really awesome. I got to fly down and watch the championship game in Vegas, and there were a lot of Nevada people there. And I noticed when I came back the next day, I was driving in, and I saw somebody with a T-shirt, some girl that you wouldn't think was a basketball fan at all, and it was just Mountain West champs. And it's like, this is cool, it's good. I think it gives everybody a little bit of morale. It's really neat, and Eric is a great coach and deserves it, and I think the community deserves it. I think the students do. It's been fun to watch all the excitement, and I'll continue to. I think that I'm optimistic Doug will hire a coach that's going to be like an Eric Musselman, and they'll come in and take this group to the next level, and I'll be cheering for them too. I would say to her or to him that they better take care of my kids. But they are blessed with some young, talented kids and some older. I think that they have a chance to be really good, but I do think they'll have to add a couple of things. It probably wouldn't be about basketball. It wouldn't be telling them to run the dribble drive or to make sure you get this person open. It would be just take care of them and treat them like they're supposed to be treated and win some ball games.